Hey guys, thank you for waiting oh so patiently for another episode of Roast National Master. I do apologize for that. It's not like you guys had a choice, you had to wait because I'm not posting anything, but I do really appreciate everyone that does follow my content on a daily basis and they do watch all of my videos. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much to everybody who watches all my videos. And without further ado, let's take a look at round four. So right now I am down bad. I've got 1 out of 3. Won our first game, lost 2 soul-crushing games. And the third game was a draw. That's the worst thing, and it was against the 1900. So at least I would regain some of the rating I lost. So such a shame. But yeah, and it sucks now that we're going into round four against an unrated opponent, which means that even if I would win this game, I'm not gonna win any rating points back. I've just lost it, So oh well, it is what it is. Let's still play chess. Let's play an excellent game of chess, and yeah. So this is a really strange tournament, by the way, because there weren't many players for some reason. It's supposed to be a really big tournament, but only 9, 10 players showed up, which means, and this is basically why I'm getting this unrated opponent, because there weren't enough pairings, you see. So, okay, I'm playing this unrated opponent, and they also chose to cut the rounds from 6 rounds to 5. And so we're only going to play one more round after this, unfortunately. It was meant to be 6. So I was really hoping to do well. So at least get on the scoreboard, because I've got 1 point, which really sucks. And there were players with 3 points at this point, so really playing for a win here. And I start off with knight f3, which is my main opening move. He goes for d5, g3 by me. Oh, that rhymed. Knight f6, bishop g2, e6. This is very common. Castles, bishop e7, so I'll just skip through all of this. And c4, castles, d4, very typical position. And then knight bd7, which is a strange move. And I saw this in round 1. And what happened in round 1 was I didn't play d4 yet, and I thought that I could capture the pawn and play knight c3 and then bishop f4, this kind of stuff. So I would play takes here and here. And the reason I thought this didn't work was because I didn't have a pawn on d4. In this case, I do have a pawn on d4, so I was really curious to see what I should do here. And I make the wrong move. I play takes, and now we're basically in the Queen's Gambit exchange variation because there's been a capture. So C is taken on D and E is taken on D. And you may ask me, well, do you play this position? No, I don't. I don't play this position. I have no clue what I'm doing at this point. I know the basic ideas. I know there's like all sorts of plans you can go for, like the minority attack on the queen side and make the c pawn on c6 very weak. I know there's the plan where you can build the center build up. I know there's the Botvinnik system. I know all of these theoretically, but I don't play this at all. So this was my first time playing the position on the board. So it's scary, Like you just feel completely out of prep and left alone, and you have to find the best moves and play a good game. So that's just what I'm doing right now. It's the position I'm in. And unrated opponent doesn't mean he's a bad. He could just be like a very strong player and just doesn't have a rating. I'm not sure, so I have no clue what this guy is gonna play like. He plays c6, which is very solid, supernatural. You're defending this d5 square, and this is a very common move here. So, like in the first game where I just noticed I messed up, I played queen c2, and in this game I played queen c2 again because, like, what else is there basically? I don't want to commit my bishop to any square yet, so I'm not sure if I go for f4 or g5. It may depend. So I keep my bishop on c1, and he goes rook e8, just taking control of that semi-open file he has, which is lovely, absolutely lovely. It looks tremendous for him. So rook e8 makes a lot of sense. And so now I need to actually choose what I'm gonna do. Am I gonna play for the center? Am I gonna play on the queen side with a minority attack? And what I end up doing is I play for this this queenside play, minority attack with rook b1. And I could have reached a more natural position, I think, if I played something like bishop f4. This was the computer's recommendation. And then after bishop f4, a very typical continuation would be something like knight f8, rook a d1, knight g6 attacking the bishop. Bishop comes to g5 now. But knight e4, and we have to trade these bishops off. This would be a very typical position. This is a very, very common position you can reach from this point. But I really don't want to get into all of this. I want to play for the queen side activity here. And another line would be maybe bishop f4, followed by bishop f8, just defending all of the squares around the king and just be completely safe about it. h3, knight b6 is the way to go, knight e5, knight h5, hitting my bishop. Now bishop comes back to d2. And f6 kicks my knight away, and really, what has white accomplished? I mean, sure, we get to plant our knight on d3. Maybe it has the c5 square at some point, but besides that, not much. I wasn't really impressed, so rook b1 is what I went for. a5, sure, the idea here is that you want to kind of slow down my attack, but I don't think this makes much sense. I would have preferred just to continue with your natural plans as black, like knight f8. I think that would be the better thing to do. And this isn't like the bayonet attack from the King's Indian positions, where if we play a3, they can play b4. Sorry, a4. They can't do this, because we have the knight and the queen defending, basically. So this would be very good for us. And the fact that we can do this means that if we play a3, basically they can't go a4, or it doesn't stop our plans, is what I mean. Like, we're still gonna get the open file for our rook. So a3, a4 doesn't make much sense. He goes bishop to d6, which I'm not really sure about. Again, I think either bishop f8 or knight f8 would be best. And the reason I don't think this was as good is because it doesn't really stop my plans, right, of playing b4. So I go ahead and blast out b4. Takes, b5 now by him, and this is really, really the critical point of the game. So what is he doing basically? He's playing b5 and he's stopping me from playing my b5 push myself. But this has a really big problem to it, because it makes the c-pawn extremely weak now. There's no pawns defending it. It's like the kid from Home Alone, basically. He's like, no one defending him. He's by himself at home, and there's going to be people trying to get him all up in his stuff. So, like, everything's going to be attacking. And the reason I think this is a bad move is because I found a very strong move in this position, I believe. And the move is, actually pause and see if you can find it, and I'll reveal in a few seconds. And the move is, congratulations if you found it, e4, completely blasting open the position, just blasting up everything. And the point of this is there's really nothing black can do to stop this. So if you play pawn takes, then, I mean, I'm just going to play knight g5 here, or maybe, yeah, knight g5 looks good. Knight g5 was my calculation, and the idea is you can't add any more defenders to this pawn, so it's basically going to be recaptured. And once this pawn is captured, notice that this light square diagonal is completely opened up for me, which is basically what I could ask for, really. So this would be amazing for me. If they play knight takes and try to be cheeky, then what was my calculation? Was it knight takes or pawn takes? Sorry. Yeah, it has to be knight takes. So knight takes, no matter what you take back with, I'm going to play knight g5 ideas, and still the pawn's going to be lost. So that's the whole point of this. And even if I play knight takes here, the point is, if you play something like rook takes, then you're immediately dropping this pawn. Immediately. So this would not be good. You would have to play, I think, pawn takes. And then from pawn takes, you play knight g5. Same idea, basically. If you try and defend this pawn, that's okay. You're losing c6, and I'm very happy. Extremely happy. So, what he played was kind of, I don't know how I feel about this move that he played because it was his turn, and you know in chess rules, especially for FIDE tournaments and stuff like that, you're not allowed to leave the table on your turn unless it's kind of justified. And so I was playing, I played d4 and I stood up. When I got back to the board, there was nobody there, which was strange because he was supposed to be there because it's his turn. And then the arbiter came up to me and said, oh, he went to the bathroom because he said he had a nosebleed. I didn't see him like ill at all. I didn't see him like his nose bleeding or anything. I didn't see him go to the bathroom like rushing or anything. So yeah, and then that was strange. But I'm also not gonna doubt him because okay, probably he just did have an emergency and had to go to the bathroom. But he came back and played this move. He played Rook takes c4, and I'm like, okay, either this guy just tilted and threw the game away, or he just loaded up Stockfish in the bathroom, and I'm really not sure which one is which. But okay, through pure calculation and what I could see from the board, I did see this move beforehand. I just didn't think it was good because, I mean, I couldn't find anything, right? There's no calculation that proves this is good for him. So I play knight takes, which looks logical. Knight takes, and again, it's the problem. You're immediately losing the pawn. Takes. And now the rook has to defend itself on a8 because it's undefended. So rook b8, just moving out the way of the queen. And here I go for something really stupid, extremely stupid. It's actually ridiculous that I played this move. And yeah, if you guys remember the regional championship that I played and that final loss against the 1400, like that was bad. Hanging a rook against the 1400 in the most decisive game of my career so far was bad, but this was worse. This was way worse. And basically, I'm thinking, can I take that pawn on d5? If I play queen takes d5, there's gonna be knight c3. And then I thought, oh, that's okay, because then I play queen takes d6, knight takes b1, and then I'm gonna have a really strong response here with queen takes b8. But the problem with this is basically after takes, queen takes b8 is a massive blunder because you guys probably see it, right? It's so clear, it's obvious. Like knight takes and the rook was never hanging, so basically I've just sacked the queen. Unironically just sacked the queen by accident, so yeah, this was... Oh man, I can't tell you the pressure I was in at this point. I was dying inside, and it's basically like, okay, well, you've got to play it cool, pretend this was your calculation, and say, like, this was all planned out. Of course it wasn't. Like, all you had to do in this position was play bishop g5, attacking the queen, and you pick up the knight. I mean, there's not much else to say about this, really. Yeah, this was disappointing. So, queen takes b8. But we calculated, right? This is all our game plan. We knew this. We knew this was gonna happen. We saw all of this, right? Bishop f4, attacking the knight, trying to get some counterplay. Now this is hit, this is hit. How do you defend? There's one way to defend both actually, which is bishop f5, only move. And now it looks like, okay, well this is defended, this is defended. What do I really play for here? Just trying to activate my pieces really, so I go for knight h4 now. Hitting his bishop, which is undefended, and if the bishop moves off this diagonal, then I pick up his knight on b1, so he has to stick on this, which is why he goes for bishop to d3, and he also doesn't have time to fork me with g5, that's always key. So I had all of this in my mind. I saw bishop d3, and I calculated rook d1, bishop c2, rook c1, and then knight a3, rook a1, and I thought that would be good for me. And that's exactly what happened. We had rook d1, bishop c2, rook c1, just trying to gain anything really. Knight a3, rook a1, and here was actually where I was like close to losing because all he had to do was play the g5 move now. Now he has time to play g5, And after this Desperado with bishop takes b8, queen takes, rook takes. Apparently the best move from the engine is queen d6. And you had to play queen d6 because I had the move rook to a8. Now I save my knight, but again, black is just up material, so yeah, I think the queen and bishop does better against. So let's just take the queen for example. I think the queen in this case, because these are matched, right? Let's just take these out the equation. I think in this case the queen is better than the knight and rook combined, just because of the situation, like my pawns being very weak. There's no way to defend this pawn on b4, so I'd have to play tactically here. There is this pawn on g5 which I can capture, but again, I don't think there's time because it's black to move. And I think he just has the very simple queen 6 b4 and my rook is attacked. So yeah, this would not be good for me. This would definitely not be good. Fortunately for me, he blunders. He blunders and plays bishop a4, which doesn't place any pressure on my pieces. And now rook takes a3 is a very good move. Because now the difference is, after g5, he's lost the tempo. I take here, he's forced to take here, I go knight f3, and once he goes queen d6, or something like that, I can defend both pawns. It's not that bad for me at this point. So, knight f3, apparently the engine liked knight f5 a lot more. I saw this move but couldn't understand it. Like, sure, there's always going to be some tactics maybe with this move, but let's just say queen c7. I would have to find bishop c6, which I did find, and the idea is that if you take this, then knight e7 comes with a devastating fork. So king f8, I saw this move, and I didn't see beyond this. When I had to see in this position, I was calculating d5, but d5 looks really suspicious. d5 was my calculation. I had to find rook c3. But this is a tough move to see because, like, so many pieces hanging. Like, this is hanging, and this is hanging, and this is depending on the rook to not hang. And yeah, I didn't see all of this. So, just queen c8, attacking the rook, rook c5, defending everything except the pawns. And this was very hard to see for me. So, again, like I said, I was having calculation problems this tournament. So I just go knight f3, and he helps me out a lot because the pawn's attacked. There are many good ways to defend this pawn. Like, maybe one really good way would be to play queen d8, let's say, because you attack the pawn on d4 and you defend on g4. That could be a possibility. I don't know really. But that looks good to me. He played g4, which I would never play because it just looks way too weakening. The pawn has been pushed up too much. I think I just have a very simple knight e5, which looks very good. And again, ideas of bishop c6 and going for that pawn. Queen d6. And here I could play bishop c6. I can't play bishop c6 here, yeah, because I've moved my knight away. Okay, it's not on f5. So here in this position, I need to defend both pawns. Only move to defend both pawns, knight c6. And even though I'm down material, like I've lost my queen, I still feel like, okay, well now I'm making things come together. Maybe I have a fortress here. Maybe after playing d5, I kind of consolidate and I've got a fortress. So it was starting to look up. Bishop d1 was nasty though. Bishop d1 was scary because, I mean, the idea is that I need my bishop to defend my knight, and he's trying to play bishop f3 and stuff like this, so once he does play that, I've got no defense for my knight, and pieces will fall. The more pieces that fall, the worse my position is, so I feel I have to do something immediately, and I go for rook a8, which is a mistake the engine gives. The better move would be to go d5 and just simply consolidate. And after a move like bishop f3, then we can just play bishop takes, rook takes, and say this is good for us. The point being, you can't take this pawn on d5 because knight e7 again. So king f8, rook d3, and then this rook kind of looks strange defending, but maybe it's good. It's really hard to tell in this position. I would not want to play this with the white side. I'll tell you that right now. If something else like, let's say, bishop c2, then there's rook e3. And after rook e3, h5, let's say, knight d4, which looks crazy because the b4 pawn's not defended, but the bishop is hit, so bishop g5, knight takes b5, and the game will continue from here. And really, okay, I kind of understand this. The idea of this is just that, okay, the queen's not blockading anymore once they capture. Maybe we get some play, and yeah, okay, this would be understandable, but still very scary to play because his bishop does a very good job here. So I can't play rook d3, for example, which I'd like to play to push the pawn all the way down the board. I just don't have this. Maybe I'd have, yeah, and I don't have bishop e4 as well, because the queen would be here. So it looks like I have nothing, basically. I just found this move, which is a lot more natural. And the idea was, since I can't get behind the pawn in an effective way, maybe getting in front of the pawn will be enough. Because if I get in front of the pawn like this, notice that this pawn is always going to be defended. There's no way you can capture it. Like, this is defended. But again, it all relies on this this bishop. If I don't have this bishop, everything falls. So at least I have this bishop now. I was looking at moves like bishop f3, but of course he has to move the queen, so queen f6, and now bishop f3 is more than prepared. And okay, if I don't play a good move here, I'm just dead. So I need to find a good move here. And the move I found was rook d7, which I really enjoy. I think this is a really good move. The idea being that this pawn is very weak and only defended by the queen and king, which is never a good combination, and there's a rook which can fork them, by the way. So all I have to do is play knight e5. And his idea here is he wants to play bishop f3, which only helps me play knight e5, because now I hit this twice, this is hit twice, and here he blunders and plays bishop takes g2. The reason this is a blunder, because I instantly win the game now with rook takes f7, queen takes, knight takes, king takes, let's say king e6 going for my pawn, f4. GG. Game over. Because if you play king d5, all I have to do is play f5. And then my pawns form this kind of wall, protective defense here, where the king can never take this pawn. If you take, I'm just promoting. I'm pushing it all the way. So you can't do this. And if you step back at all, or if you push anything else, like let's say you play this move, then all I do is just bring my king around. And then once I defend this pawn, it's a clean win. So yeah, this would be a win for me. Unfortunately, I missed this move completely. I missed f4, so king e6. I did see this, but I thought he had g takes, and then king takes, king d5, king e3. Yeah, bad calculation by me. I thought this, but then just takes in d5, really. And then I'm winning. So again, miscalculation. I needed to be better at calculation. Unfortunately, I couldn't find it. I just played king takes. But again, this still leaves in question, like, what do you do now? Because I'm threatening rook takes f7. You'd have to play queen a6 here. Queen a6, give up the pawn with check, king g8, this is my calculation. Rook f4, h5, h4, takes, king takes, and at least I'm doing good, you know, like, maybe this is a draw even, I'm not sure, but I'm really not terrified of this position. I'm really not, I'm actually quite comfortable now. So this was good. And he doesn't play this, he plays h5. Which is a blunder, because it allows me to play this move now. Takes, here, and now I find it. Now I find f4. King e6, king f2, d5, f5. And I win the game, and that's it. And there's nothing he can do, because I just bring my king around, get him zogged out, and just push p. Push p and he resigns here, and yeah. So this was a game that was ridiculously unnecessarily hard. Like there was no point like in not calculating better at that middle game and just noticing that the rook was not hanging. And I'll just go back and show you guys, like at this point, this is ridiculous. Queen takes b8 was ridiculous here. Oh, this is the worst move I've ever played, hands down. So you can go up in the comments and tell me how stupid I was for playing this, and yeah, let me know if you got to this point. I'd really like to see if you guys did. And yeah, so this was today's game. Again, ridiculously hard. Why did I do all of that? Can't believe this move. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time for the final round. Little bit of spoilers, the final round is against another unrated opponent, so I've literally just lost rating. But it is what it is, you know? It is what it is, and it's life. You gotta deal with it sometimes, and yeah. I'll see you guys next time. See ya. Bye.